Welcome to Spidell's California Minute. I'm your host, Catherine Zidane, and this week we're covering Paycheck Protection Program loan fraud and the next round of legislation regarding this program. Funds from the Paycheck Protection Program loans were barely in the hands of the recipients when the Department of Justice had started pursuing and prosecuting cases of fraudulent loans. Since its inception, the loan program has hit snags regarding who was accessing the funds after it became known that large public companies with alternative access to capital were applying for massive paycheck protection loans, while small businesses were shut out after the first round of funding ran out. But in recent weeks, the Department of Justice has nabbed a number of people for outright fraud. In the first fraud case in early May, 2 East Coast men created dozens of fictitious employees for 4 restaurants that were not in operation prior to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they used this information to get almost $550,000 in paycheck protection loans. One of the restaurants had never existed at all, and one was a restaurant that neither of the men owned. Apparently, they left an email trail of their discussions on how to create fraudulent documentation to support their loan applications. They're both charged with conspiracy to make false statements and conspiracy to commit bank fraud. In another case, an engineer in Texas applied for $13 million in paycheck protection loans using a non-existent LLC. On his application, he claimed the company employed 250 people with a monthly payroll of between $1.2 million and $4 million. He was charged after the Texas Workforce Commission let investigators know that payroll records for the LLC did not exist. But in what has so far been the most outlandish case to hit the news, a man in Georgia is being prosecuted for fraudulently obtaining a $2 million paycheck protection loan. He created a trucking company and fabricated employees, and then once he had the funds, he spent them on a 2019 Rolls-Royce Wraith, child support payments, a Rolex presidential watch, a diamond bracelet, and a 5.73 carat diamond ring that was for himself. So we now know that you cannot spend Paycheck Protection Program loan funds on a Rolls-Royce. Currently, in order to qualify for loan forgiveness, the Treasury has issued guidance requiring that 75% of the loan proceeds had to be used for payroll costs, and that includes salary, wages, or other compensation up to $100,000 annual limit per worker, payment of cash tips or equivalents, vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, termination allowances, group health care benefits including insurance premiums, retirement benefit payments, and state or local payroll taxes. But H.R. 6886, also known as the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act, is in the works. It's a bipartisan bill that has been passed by the House and that would, among other things, limit non-payroll expenses to 40% of loan proceeds rather than 25%, and it would extend the loan forgiveness period from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. But another bill is also being discussed in the Senate that would extend the loan forgiveness period from 8 weeks to 16 weeks. So while these bills are not in final form and there could be changes, the feeling on the Hill is that we should have legislation in the next week or so. That's all for this week. Join us next time for another episode of Spidell's California Minute.